everybody. Thanks for coming along. I'm Keith Freegard from Axion Recycling, and this afternoon I'm going to speak to you about what designers need to know about recycled plastics. I'll be talking to you a little bit about our company because I think it needs to be set in context of who we are and what we do. Then after that, talking about what I think are the important drivers that exist in this market at the moment in terms of trying to make a change in the marketplace and switching across to using recycled products. Some of my own views and opinions about what's needed to properly use these materials when you're designing new products, some of the benefits that can accrue, and a bit on properties and performance of plastics. Then I also go a little bit into details of how I see the trends going in the different sectors, because I think that's important. And where do you get the polymers from? A little bit about the Axion Group. We've been going for 10 years now. Axion Recycling Limited is the limited company. Myself and Roger Morton formed the company about 10 years ago. And we've got Axion Polymers, which is our manufacturing arm. We make and operate plants that we've designed and built ourselves. And we have a consultancy group as well, which provides technical know-how and knowledge in the sector. And at the moment, when we add up the numbers keep changing. About 70 jobs created, and if we're on a busy time, we'll bring more people in. We have a kind of satellite crew of consultants who work for us externally, and we bring them onto projects when we need them. We've got offices in Manchester, my own office in London, we have office in Shanghai, 2 sites at the moment, Trafford Park in Manchester, where we share the site with a metal recycling business, and it's Salford, where we have our plastics refinery. In our consultancy business, the type of things we do are really represented by these photos. A team of an old experienced engineer working with a really bright young graduate. We find that works very well, looking at some drawings and designs and calculations. We can be out on site, measuring, installing, testing, maintaining, operating plants. This is a man collecting some flexible flooring. We're very proud of our success in the collection sector for PVC. So we operate collection systems for industry. And that pile of waste is really our bread and butter. It's about understanding what to do to mix materials in the waste sector in order to extract value from them. The polymers business, which is what we call our manufacturing and operating base, these days I've taken to describing ourselves as a fully integrated materials resource recovery business in the automotive sector, and we also still do waste electrical plastics. So it's rigid engineering polymers from cars and electrical equipment. We have strong links with an organisation called S. Norton & Son. They're a second generation family metal recycling business with a large shredding plant in Liverpool and one in Manchester. And in fact, the 3 brothers of the Nortons own shares in my company, so we have 5 shareholders. At the moment, our largest plant is called the SWAP. That's the Shredder Waste Advanced Process Plant, and that's a unique facility that we developed in 2009 and brought on stream in 2010 that sorts and separates this material called ASR. That's auto shredder residue, sometimes called shredder light fluff or frag waste. And that's a real mishmash of all the non-metallic parts of a car: seats, fabrics, wood, concrete, glass, stone, plastics, rubbers, and lots of other undesirable items. We've also got our Salford factory, which was originally set up as a wee plastics refinery, and now we do clever separations on mixed polymers to produce high-grade plastics. The key thing we do is take something that's waste and unwanted and upgrade it up to a state where it's as good as virgin polymer, so it adds a lot of value. That's where we're really making money. We also have a fairly sophisticated laboratory, both for traditional plastics measurement and also for characterising complex material streams. That's our raw material, which is just a pile of scrap cars. But when you talk about shredding cars, cars might make up 60 or 70% of what goes into a shredder in the UK. There's also an awful lot of general light iron, and if you focus around it, you'll see that there are parts of large domestic goods, cookers and washing machines, which have always gone to shredders. So metal-rich waste. This is the swap plant, which starts here and extends off down for about 100 metres length, and that's a process which does 200,000 tonnes per annum of car shredder residue. The aim is to avoid sending anything to landfill. And in the last 6 months, we've run a plant which doesn't send anything to landfill, which we're very proud of. And we're also extracting useful materials. And one of the key drivers there is obviously landfill cost. If you have 100,000 tonnes of waste and landfill's £80 a tonne, you can do the maths in terms of what your annual bill is for waste. And it's an amount of money that justifies a significant investment. The SWAP plant produces 4 main streams: mixed plastics, which I'll talk about in more detail, aggregates. There's a lot of concrete and stone in waste. All washing machines have a big concrete weight inside them to stop them jumping around. And if you get an iron girder, it often has a big lump of concrete on the bottom. Or if someone brings their scrap car along, they'll leave a slab of stone in the back to make it heavier when they weigh it in. We do recover some metals. There's still residual amounts of fine copper in, little bits of aluminium cans, so there's enough material in there. It's the really, really hard to get out stuff because it's already been through a very sophisticated metal plant. And then anything we can't actually get out as a material becomes an SRF, a solid recovered fuel. But in this case, it's really different to RDF. RDF is being generated a lot from the normal waste stream, and that'll be food wrappings and babies' nappies and bits of food waste and quite a low CV, undesirable material. Ours is very dry, inert, high CV, very constant. And then this pile, which is my favourite bay on the plant, because that's the raw material which is then going into my next factory where we do the plastics refining work. And that's up in Salford. This is Axion Polymers in Salford on a day when there's a tiny bit of blue in the sky, which is a rare day. And that's a close-up of our raw material. So our primary raw material at the moment is a concentrate of plastic that's come mostly from cars. It will involve some other plastics from the other feed to the shredder. And as you can see, whilst there's some quite nice bits of plastic, there's still other bits in there, bits of paper and wood and some fine wire, etc. So there's still a lot of work to be done to get value out of that. And that's what our Salford plant does. Waste in, get any undesirables out, glass and stone, metals down there, a mixture of polymers which we can then do clever polymer separation on, compounding and blending where we do further separation and melt filtration, and then making a range of polymer products which are specified for the end user requirement. And then we start to produce something. We've gone all the way from the waste sector. Finally, when we come out of our extruder, we've got a product which we can sell into the international polymers market. And then, having dealt with all the waste legislation, we're then dealing with Roche and REACH and all the rules about selling products onto the open market. But it's a high value commodity at that point. Some of the things we can make is a moulding from I think a Nissan car, which is quite a complicated polypropylene moulding made from plastic from cars. A set-top box that we sold in France, made from old TV sets, so that's got a lot of logic to it. We took the flame retardants out to make a clean recycled plastic, and then they asked us to put new flame retardants back in to make it flame retarded again. Hence we got the B0 rating. And then this is interesting because this is in the retail sector now, so we've seen recently a call from the retail sector to have products which are demonstrably recycled. So this is from Marks and Spencer's, and what's most interesting is the packaging actually declares where the polymer came from, made from recycled plastic, which was a real step change in that market.